Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
Ramadan radio.
Mhm.
How do we start? Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. My name is Sophia. Welcome to Ramadan Radio, and I'm here with.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. I'm Sauda.
And you're listening to Ramadan Radio 87.9 FM. If you want to call us to interact, ask us questions, give us advice, even just talk about your life, 077 614.
020-3621-759. No,
it's 077 614 60614. Our text and WhatsApp number isn't online at the moment.
Oh, I see. Okay.
To repeat, 077 614 60614. So today we're going to talk about belonging as a Muslim, as a teenage Muslim, especially in a non-Muslim country, and the issues we face, especially as we go to a non-Muslim school. So we've had to adapt a lot to just sort of being ourselves in an environment where there are not many people like us, and we have to sometimes we have to change how we present ourselves to fit in, but we want to show how you can embrace your Islamic self and just show who you are to the world. So to start off with, let's talk about Islamic society that we started in school. So why did we start Islamic society? I guess it was to have somewhere to belong in the school. What do you think? How did you find Islamic society?
I didn't know ISOC existed until we have a Muslim teacher at our school who's really lovely, and she came up to me and she said, "Hey Sada, do you want to join ISOC? Because it's sort of died over COVID." And I was like, yeah, like that would be fun, because I moved to our current school at sixth form, and I moved from a school that was like majority Muslim. So we didn't really have a need for an ISOC because everyone was just sort of Muslim.
Oh, yeah.
And then I moved to my current school, and I sort of lost that. And I didn't have the same sort of Muslim friends to talk about the sort of like struggles or like questions or advice, or like even just like general ranting. So yeah, it was really fun when Miss came to me and she was like, "Hey Sada, help me restart ISOC." And I feel like also because it sort of died down because of like sort of like personal issues within our school. So yeah, we started ISOC. I think it was crazy because I knew no one because I was new. And she was like, "Hey Sada, set up a stall at the club fair." And I set up a stall, and I had like I pinned a prayer mat onto the board. I was standing there.
That
and it was kind of awkward because like I feel like people sort of don't think ISOC was for them if they're not Muslim, and there's not a lot of Muslims in general. So I was like, "Come to ISOC," and they're like, "But we're not Muslim." I was like, "Come anyway."
You don't have to be Muslim to come to ISOC. Most of our members, I think in 2019 when it first started, they were non-Muslim, because there's just not enough Muslims to have a full Muslim Islamic society. What I can't believe is our school is like 125 years old, and after all that time there
just wasn't an ISOC. I think that just goes to show that there wasn't enough Muslims, I feel like.
True.
And now slowly maybe there's just like a growing number of us in those sorts of spaces.
I was so excited when you came. I was like, yes, hijab.
Well, it's so nice when you're just like walking across the corridor and there's another hijab. You're like, oh my god.
No, I feel so awkward though, because I just like when you first came, I would just stare at you. So like, yes.
Did I notice, or was I just like?
I don't know if you remember. There was this time your coat hooked onto a locker, and I thought, let me help you and unhook you. And
really?
You just gave me the most terrified stare back. I was like, okay, that's it.
I don't remember this at all. No. Oh god. Thanks for helping out with ISOC. First of all, because I feel like at the beginning I was pretty new to it because I had never run an ISOC before. So at the start it was like trying to give presentations. We did a Black History Month one as our first one, which is really fun. Like I have like good memories from them, but I think my favorite ones are definitely the ones like after Hardy's memorial service. We sort of like came together and we just like had a chat. And I think those are the best ISOCs where you sort of sit around a table.
Yeah, the chats, they're so good just to connect with other Muslims and talk about your what struggles you have, because you can't exactly go to a non-Muslim friend and be like, oh, this Ramadan is so difficult, because then they'll be thinking in their head, oh my gosh, Muslims are oppressed.
Yeah. It's sort of awkward. I think it's also nice when non-Muslims come along and you sort of they have like questions, because you feel sort of like hard and like they're trying to understand you and they're really open about it. I feel like people at our school.
Yeah, remember, I think there was a Christian girl and we talked about the similarities in our religion.
That's always really fun.
I think it's so sweet to sort of connect with other people who are not just Muslims, especially if you are in a situation where there aren't many Muslims you can connect with.
Yeah, I think having a solid eye sock, even if not a lot of people come, because we have weeks where it's literally just us two like sitting in the room just chatting. But even if a lot of people don't come, it's just good to reconnect with people who are like you. And you feel less alone. I don't know, how did you feel like in the younger years? What was ISOC like then?
So it only really started when I was in year 9, and at that time I had Hadia, who was 1 year older than me, and she would help out, and it was a lot of non-Muslims, and we basically just did fun activities together. We did like a try on a hijab thing, and it was so cute. Some of them said that it felt like a hug on your head.
Oh, that's really sweet.
Yeah. I think before that it was, I feel like a Muslim society would have really helped when I was in the younger years, because I found it quite difficult to fit in being like the only hijabi in the school at some point. So like, how did you find it when you joined City?
I don't know. I think it was a bit of a culture shock. I feel like Ramadan didn't hit the same when everyone's not fasting with you.
That's true.
Like,
yeah.
I mean, obviously, I don't mind at my current school where people eat in front of me. Like, it's cool. Like, I'm fine with that. But it's just when I was at my old school, it just hit different when you guys like sit at a table and none of you are eating, so you just like discuss like hadith or something, and it's just like really nice. Or like even our, not even just like hadith, but maybe our like current struggles with like maybe prayer or like the way we dress. I feel like you can't really talk about it with someone who doesn't sort of prescribe to those rules. You know what I mean? Like if someone doesn't wear a hijab, it's hard for them to sort of empathize with the struggles, or even like wearing your hijab like quote unquote properly. How you should wear it, because I feel like,
can't exactly talk about that,
because Muslim girls, I feel like we go through this thing where like we want to look nice as well, but we also want to sort of follow, you know, the Islamic rules and stuff. And if everyone around you doesn't wear the hijab, then there's no one to be there like, hey, like do it like this.
You can't have other people there sort of helping you through that journey of how do I wear my hijab, what is considered hijab, that kind of thing.
Yeah, and I think ITOC is a really nice place because it's sort of open and non-judgmental. So like if you're Muslim and you're not practicing, or you're struggling, or you don't wear hijab, or maybe you're struggling with prayer, it's okay. Like you can still turn up and you can still talk about your sort of opinions and your experiences, and they're still valid. And hopefully I feel like it's the sort of thing that like it motivates you to be more interested in your own religion, but also like be proud of it. Because I feel like it's something that, like, I know personally in my own sort of relationships, I don't really talk about my religion. I don't know why, because it's a really big part of my identity, but it just sort of doesn't crop up. So it's really nice to like talk to people who, you know about it.
Yeah, I think this Ramadan we should all try to talk more about our religion with each other, talk about the struggles and stuff, because it does help to have someone to listen to your struggles.
Yeah, especially if it's someone that like sort of understands. And it's not like, if it's your peers, they're not sort of giving you advice, they're more like sort of acknowledging your feeling. And sometimes you need that. Like sometimes you need the advice from someone who's older than you, maybe your parents, saying, hey, this is right, this is wrong. Sometimes you just need a friend to be like, yeah, do you know what, I feel hot in this hijab sometimes. But you know, you need it. It's super, it makes you feel sort of closer to your religion. And yeah, because I feel like if you don't talk about it, you tend to drift away from it.
Yeah, and you kind of forget that that's a big part of who you are at the end of the day. Yeah, like when I first joined the majority non-Muslim school when I was in year 7, I found that it was something that I talked about a lot less than I had before when I went to a majority Muslim primary school. And I think I kind of took advantage of the fact that like everyone was Bengali, everyone was Muslim in my primary school. Same. Yeah, so I found making friends and fitting in quite a big difficulty when I joined school.
Interesting.
I don't know, how did you find it in sixth form?
I think maybe because I was older, that I
Yeah.
sort of struggled less than maybe you would have when you were 11.
Yeah,
Because I feel like when you're at my age, you tend to make friendships based off like how stressed you are in class and over like your homework. But I feel like when you're in year 7, there's less of that sort of pressure.
in year 7 and 8, it's like, oh, what's cool, what's not cool. And
Yeah.
also, I think some scientific fact I have written down. Apparently, at age 12 is when kids learn social conformity. So, how
Mm.
they basically change themselves to fit into what other people deem suitable. And I think after BLM, there was this letter kind of thing released to our school, like the people high up in our school, saying all the small microaggressions and discriminations people have faced. And one of them was a Muslim who, in order to fit in, she went so far as she ate pork to be like her friends. I know it just really hurts my heart to hear how she was affected by that so much that was the peer pressure she gave into, basically. And I think the issue is it's a systematic thing, isn't it? It's not really one individual person. It's that we're not talking about the issues we face, and they're not people who are in power, like head teachers and stuff, are not actively stopping this kind of thing from happening.
It's definitely harder when you're in like year 7 because I feel like at that age you just don't it's hard to distinguish what's right and what's wrong, but it's also harder to be you, partly because you don't know who you are. So you're still sort of figuring that out. But also because it's just like if you don't have people around you that understand the sort of like understand your religion and maybe sort of do the same things as you, I feel like you can also be like really lonely. If you're trying to
that actually did happen to me. I felt really isolated from being different to other people when I feel like I spent so much time trying to show people that I was the same as them and it meant that I wasn't actually doing the same things as them, because the first thing they saw of me was, oh, a hijabi girl. Should we talk to her? Should we not?
It's obvious when you wear the hijab because they can see it.
It's like their first impression of you. And also we have the weight of the media narrative of Islam that we have to prove to, especially people who've never spoken to Muslims before, that this is not what Islam is like. Islam is a religion of
do you find it liberating trying to like sort of clear things up? Be like, no, Muslims aren't actually like that.
I think actually I feel like there's some sort of not quite power, but some sort of happiness I feel when my actions show people that Islam, like if I'm nice to someone, then they can see, oh, okay, Muslims are nice people.
Sort of leading through action and not speech and preaching.
Yeah. And I think, have you ever gotten some ignorant questions from people? Like,
nothing too bad, surprisingly. But again, I feel like it's because I joined later. So like by the time you're like 17, I feel like you're less likely to face questions. But also because I feel like we're lucky in the sense that our school is quite open and liberal.
That's true.
I feel like if I went somewhere I was maybe more politically left wing or something like that, then maybe they would have had more questions, or maybe even like less accepting. Because I've definitely seen like I've like read stories on the internet where people have like given things to their Muslim friends and then lied about it being halal. Like it's just so, I don't know. I feel like we're just lucky in a sense. Do you think there's like benefits? Like, have you had any good experiences? Like,
oh, I can't think of any off the top of my head, but I know that people do like learning about my religion, and it makes me happy to share it with them. Like sometimes they do have a genuine question. What does halal mean? What do you consider halal? And I enjoy saying, so we eat this, we don't eat this, and they're really interested in it.
Interesting. For me, it's really nice because a lot of my friends are really supportive in like really small ways. Aww. So if my hair's sticking out my scarf, they'll tuck it in for me, which is really so sweet. Like they'll just be like, oh, Sarah, let me just fix your scarf for a little bit. It's just really nice. Or like if I need to pray, they like try and make sure people don't enter the room and things like that. And like small like little gestures like that. Oh, if we're going out, making sure the place is halal and like not being like, Sarah can just eat vegetarian. They're just like super
they're just
like
so understanding, right? I've had friends who kind of stand in front and guard while I'm praying on the solid physics classroom floor.
So I think there's pros and cons, right?
Yeah, but when I was in year 7 and 8, when people were less mature, I think
Mm.
I had a question. So, do you wear that in the shower?
Oh my God, I didn't realize that was a question people actually ask.
Really?
Yeah, like
No,
I
some
just thought it was a
people.
joke.
No. From first-hand experience, someone asked me, "Do you wear that in the shower
No,
after you were born? Did you have to wear a
no,
hijab?"
oh
And
God.
being year 7, I was just so shocked. I just be like, "Yeah,
Yeah,
no, of course not." But
yeah.
now, if someone asked me that question, I would full and go, "Yep, I use hijab and shoulders.
Yes, yes, I
I
love that
use
joke.
fabric
Yeah,
conditioner."
use the sarcasm a bit more.
Yeah, because that makes them realize that their question doesn't make sense.
Mm.
Like I've heard of a lot of instances where that's happened. Have you heard of, I think it was so there was a Muslim guy who was just walking and someone came with a strip of bacon and tried to attack him with
That's
the strip of
so
bacon.
weird.
And
What?
the comments were so funny. Like people must think that bacon is our kryptonite.
Yeah, we just don't get enough exposure. I feel like there's just a bunch of weird stereotypes going
Yeah.
around.
But yeah, it means that they're less likely to do it again than if you just full on said no, because kind of they've experienced the
Yeah.
embarrassment of realizing how ignorant a question that is.
Yeah, so if anyone has anything to say, you can call us again. Sorry for giving the wrong number at the beginning, but you can call us at 077 614 60614.
Yeah, if you have any questions about our experiences, or even if you want to share your experiences,
Yeah.
tell us how you fit into.
Yeah, I wonder how it like differs if you go somewhere that's like majority Muslim. Like say if you go to school in like East London, and whether people sort of face different traumas and different sort of problems being there. Like I can't think of any because I haven't been in that situation. But I feel like there definitely must be some sort of like, just off the top of my head, maybe guilt surrounding religion. I don't know. When I was younger, I'd feel bad if I was just like, I don't know, like I'd feel weird if I don't know, like missed a prayer or didn't, or like sometimes there'd be like trends with the hijab that maybe I didn't want to do. And then everyone be like, "Oh, Sarah, you wear your hijab so weirdly," and I'd be like, "No." So like I feel like there are different sort of trends related to that.
We have a question come in. What did you find the hardest being a Muslim in a majority non-Muslim school? I think for me the biggest thing was practicing my religion, because let me tell you about the prayer room in my school, quote unquote.
Oh, it's a joke. It's a joke.
Awful. So I came in year 7. I said to the head of year, I need a prayer room. She took me around the school, just showing me little nooks and crannies that I can use. Behind the stage was one. I think I used that once. It was terrible. Some kitchen, the staff kitchen, that was just definitely no. I wasn't gonna go. But eventually I managed to settle on the staff shower room, because that was the only private
shower room.
Shower room, the one in the cloakroom.
Oh my God.
It was terrible because I would go in, right, and the floor would be soaking wet sometimes. And the teachers, they leave their shampoos and their deodorants and stuff on the side. So I'm there. I used to bring in a tissue with me to dry myself after I did wudu. Yeah. But sometimes I would just have to use it to wipe the floor. Because, that was floor.
God. I mean, mashallah to you for praying in those situations. Like that's some like dedication, because at my old school we had a prayer room and we had like a wudu like bit where we could do wudu. It was actually really nice. But like even after I came to our current school, oh my God, the room we currently have is just a mess. It's right next to the canteen, so you can hear everyone screaming. And then I've talked to other people where they'll be praying and people will just come in and like do move around tables.
What?
Like
just move around tables.
And apparently I was talking to someone else in our school and she was saying how the prayer room used to be someone else, but then they turned it into someone's office.
Oh my God.
And then so she'd be praying and then there'd be this man like walking into the office.
Oh my! I have a story about that. Oh my God. I used to use a meeting room as a prayer room in year 7, and because it was a meeting room, people would come in to do stuff. Right, while I was praying, this man tried to come in, and I had locked the door, but he was trying to come in. And luckily, I had just finished. I opened the door, and he was just there timidly, like, I have an interview I'm supposed to be at. What? And I was just like, yeah, I'm sorry, I was just using the room as a prayer room. He was like, and he was so confused. He thought he was in the wrong place or that he was doing something wrong. But at that point I'd finished. I just was just like, go ahead, you can use it.
Yeah, I think another hard thing for me was like not doing things that everyone else does, especially being in sixth form where people turn 18. A lot of people like drink, a lot of people like sort of go out clubbing, and I feel like there are definitely people in our school that sort of like, it's hard to be friends with them when all they do is go out and drink, because that's where they spend all their time, or maybe that's where they hang out. So I think for me, like finding friends that sort of didn't need that to, you know, have a friendship was hard at first, definitely, because I definitely felt like they'd be like, oh, I went to like this party and there was, you know, X, Y, Z, you know what I mean? And so like at first you sort of feel maybe a bit of FOMO,
I know what you mean.
Being like, because you just sort of,
because that's where everyone makes friends and where they have interactions.
But like I feel like you realize that actually it's great that I'm not hungover every day and that I don't consume alcohol, which isn't good for me, and I have sleep, but also I have friends and I can have fun. Because I feel like in those sort of situations it's easy to feel like Islam is super restrictive, when in reality it's more of a safety net, I feel like. But yeah, definitely that was a difficult thing for me transitioning, because at my old school that wasn't there, because no one drinks and no one, you know what I mean? Whereas like here people, you know, are more prone to doing things, which I get because they're not Muslim and I don't expect them to sort of follow my sort of rules and regulations. But like when you're the only one not doing it, it's definitely a bit like, oh, I feel so lonely.
Yeah, I know what you mean. But I think that kind of pressure is there in a different sense in, you know, your Muslim school that you used to go to. Like when I was talking to my friends who went to a similar school, they said that it was shown as a risky thing to be doing something non-Islamic like drinking, and girls would come in pretending to be drunk and that kind of thing. But I feel like in that sense Islam is really freeing in that it's protecting you in ways that you don't even realize.
That's what I ended up coming to the conclusion of, was I'm glad I'm not drinking and doing drugs.
Because without that, do you feel like maybe you would have given it, like say you weren't Muslim, would you have given in and done the same things?
I don't know if that's a good thing to admit, but like that, like if I wasn't, and I don't like to imagine a life where I'm not Muslim, because I feel like being Muslim is such a big part of me. But I'm glad, because I feel like I just have a really messed up social life, and so like in a way I'm like really happy. And I feel like when you're younger that's hard to like realize, because you're more focused on fitting in and you're more focused on trying to make friends. And I feel like in some situations where if you don't do those things, you just won't have friends, and that just sucks. Like
but then afterwards you realize, right, that there are people who accept you for who you are and that would want
it's just finding those people, right? Like seeing who's accepting and who's not. And at the end of the day, you want to be friends with people who are accepting, and you don't want to be friends with people who expect you to, you know, follow what they're doing in order to be friends with you, right? You shouldn't, in a friendship, you shouldn't have to feel like you need to be a certain way to be friends with them.
You shouldn't have to change yourself, right? To be, because then are they really your friends, or are they friends with the person that you're pretending you are? We have another question come in. How do you finally feel you fitted in?
I mean, going back to what I was saying before about my friends tucking in my hair and my scarf, you know, like just small things like that where people, like, I'm not saying you need to like convert to Islam to be friends with me, but like this sort of the respect surrounding my boundaries is just so lovely. And like my friends will call me out even if they're not Muslim. Sad, isn't it prayer time now? And I'm like, do you know what? Yeah, maybe it is. And I feel like that really helps, because I mean, that's like the extra mile, I think, in terms of like friendship. When did I feel like I finally fit in? I don't know. I feel like, you know, you go ahead.
So I'm going on a trip in a couple of days, and I'm going to be fasting on the way. And my friends, they're so supportive. They're saying that they're going to have dinner at iftar time with me. Like, that's so sweet.
Bless their souls.
But I think, so that's something that other people do, right? But for me, what helped me personally fit in was be my own person and not what other people want. Like, if other people liked a show, I wouldn't go and watch. Like, when I was younger, I would just go and watch the show, see what am I missing out on, be upset that I can't relate. But then once I started respecting myself for who I was and being my own person, that's when other people sought me out rather than me trying to find them.
Yeah, I feel like another thing is like connecting with people based on other things. So like if there's a subject I like, then we'll go somewhere with them. So like I feel, you know, like you're in the robotics club.
Yeah.
You can sort of connect with them because you have that shared interest, and you feel like you can fit in when A, people respect your boundaries, but then B, you have common interests that aren't just maybe about Islam, but like they still respect your religion.
Yeah, I think when I started to make real, genuine friends was when I found what was, I mean, it's quite difficult, obviously, but when you find what's unique about yourself and you share that with other people, then that's when they see you as a person that they can be friends with.
And you can have common interests that aren't like haram, you know, like you
Yeah.
can have,
Or you can have
yeah,
completely different interests and just
like vibe, be on the
curious.
same wavelength. Just yeah.
Vibe, yeah. So we've had another question come in. What advice would you give to parents to support their children at non-Muslim schools?
Interesting.
I would say just be there for your child if they have, like, if, because sometimes teenagers like to bottle up their emotions, don't they? They have stuff they need to express, but they just don't want to say it. And if they don't have friends at their non-Muslim school that they can talk to, then having a parent there that will listen, ask them how their day was, maybe just really helps. And eventually that will be enough to have them express how they feel, and then from there you can help them further with by giving them advice or just sharing experiences that you've had. I feel like that's really
yeah, I'd
helpful.
also say like another big thing is just not shaming them, like not being like, because I've definitely had stories of parents being like, oh, you're gonna go to hell or something. Like, don't say things like that to your child, please, because
No.
I think if you start shaming them and sort of use fear as a way to teach Islam, which is, I feel like, is a pretty common method of teaching children Islam, the sort of like, if you do this, it's sinful and you're an awful person, because doing that will only make them. Yeah, exactly, because they don't want to share it with you because they're scared. And I think definitely having that sort of nuance where you sort of realize where, hey, maybe my child is doing something that maybe isn't fully Islamically correct or doesn't align with Islam a lot, understanding maybe why, and then maybe not shouting at them or like lecturing them, like making sure it's a two-way conversation where you sort of understand what they're trying to say and it's not you talking at them, because when it's that, it sort of feels like a lecture, and I feel like children feel like they're getting in trouble when they have conversations like that, where in reality, I think as a parent, you want to first understand what they're going through, and because when you do understand, you realize like, hey, it's not because my child is bad or whatever, it's because they're struggling and they're in an environment that doesn't make it easy for them to practice their religion. And also like trying to make provisions like a prayer room in their school, so like if your child can't get a prayer room, you maybe email their teachers or like do something, or ask your child, hey, is this something you need, is this something you want, and also asking them, is there any way that I could support you? But definitely not using like shame and guilt and fear as a big way, because I feel like they're already going through so much, and making them feel bad and guilty sort of distances them even more. And I've seen just so many examples of people feeling guilty and then therefore just being like, well, I'm too sinful now, so I can't. And like, so merciful, guys. And I hope as parents they can sort of like convey that message to their children as well, that it's okay, it's hard, but it's worth it.
Yeah, that's so upsetting to hear that that's a method that some people use. Inshallah, that doesn't happen with a lot of people. But
we can change it. Yeah,
we'll change it. There's a difference though, isn't there, between lecturing and giving real heartfelt advice? What do you feel
definitely.
Like how do you define lecturing in a bad sense?
I think the first step is to have a two-way conversation. It's a lecture if the entire time you're just speaking. I think the first thing is to tell their child, I think, and it's definitely hard as a parent if you're trying to talk to your child and then your child just isn't reciprocating. Like I 100% understand that is a difficulty. Because it's a two-way street. Like you can't connect with someone if both people aren't
if you're trying your best, that's amazing. But if the kid is not doing it, then that's not your fault.
Yeah, I think have patience as well. I feel like there's certain things that I didn't realize at 13 that I realize now. So I don't know, just not being angry at my parents when they say, like, if they're like, oh, don't do X thing, and then I'm like 17, I'm like, I get why, but like in the moment you just feel like you're in trouble. You're like, oh, like they're going at me again.
To avoid that, what needs to happen is that there needs to be some sort of explanation as to why something is wrong,
Definitely.
why they can't do something. Because most of the time, 9 out of 10 times, the child will, if they understand why they're not supposed to do something, then they'll accept it. They'll be fine with it.
Yeah, and sort of being like a hype man for your child, like, hey yo, you prayed, well done. Like, your hijab looks so good today. Like, well done. Like, you know what I mean? And yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you a lot because I think a lot of us, especially when it comes to like hijab, don't get it. Like, don't get why we're doing it, or maybe the reasoning feels misogynistic. That's why we're just like, no, I don't agree with this.
Yeah, but then once we get a proper explanation and understand why, we see how empowering hijab is, and exactly how amazing it is that our religion.
So I think with conversations between parents and children, like, it sucks if both people aren't sort of reciprocating in the same way. But I think as a parent, trying to understand what your child goes through before giving the advice, because if you give advice but you don't know what you're giving advice for, it's kind of sort of pointless, and it can sort of like redirect and feel kind of bad. Whereas if you're like, oh, my child is struggling with this, here's what you can do to, you know, and also like asking them, what can I do? Like, what do you want me to do? And sometimes parents, I feel like, I don't know if you feel like this, but sometimes you don't want your parents to do anything. You just want them to trust you and to be like, you're doing amazing while you try and figure it out. I don't know if you've ever felt like that.
I think I kind of understand what you mean. Like, I don't really know, because it's hard for them to discern between the different feelings.
It's definitely.
Sometimes I really want them to help me, but I just can't bring myself to ask for help. And other times, I do just want them to trust that what I'm doing is the best thing that I can do.
Would you say that if they asked you, it would help you? If they said, hey, do you need help? Is that something that you would want from your parents more?
I think that's always a good first step, because if, like, luckily it's not a problem that's as big for me now, but in year 7, 8, 9, when I was really struggling with praying and being a Muslim around other people, that it's really helpful to have, like, how are you finding it, that kind of question. Which, alhamdulillah, my parents were really good, and they did ask those sorts of questions. And shout out to my parents.
That's amazing. Shout out to Safi's parents.
We had another question come in. How are our teachers with our religion?
Okay, can we just shout out Miss Arif, because oh my god, I love that woman. Miss Arif is a Muslim teacher. She teaches geography. We can't.
Yeah, we can say.
Can I say what she teaches?
Yeah.
She teaches me geography, and she's just lovely. And I cannot lie. The first time I walked into our school, and I saw Miss Arif in the corridor, I was like, oh my god, like hijabi, yes. And I was like, and she's like teaching a subject that I'm doing. Like, she's like in a lesson with me, and she's teaching me.
Here I am doing maths and physics. I should be doing geography to have
literally. And she is just so amazing, literally, with everything with ISOC, so supportive. Like, literally before the holidays, she was like, Sarah, I think I'm gonna do something for Ramadan. Do you want to help me out with assembly? Like, yes, of course.
She's
so
kind of diversity and inclusivity.
She's just amazing.
It's not just Islam, like, she all races and religions, she supports them.
She's so understanding. I don't know about other teachers though. I think they're
see, flip side of the spectrum, right?
Oh, I think we have a call.
We have a call coming.
Hello, assalamualaikum.
Hello. Assalamualaikum. Can you hear us?
Walaikum assalam.
What's your name?
I have little problems.
You have what? Could you tell us more?
Well, I go to school. I don't like my school, and when I come home, my acne takes everything from me.
Oh, that's terrible. Why?
I told my acne, but my acne keeps taking my stuff.
That's terrible of your acne. Can you tell your acne to not do that anymore?
I'm talking to my acne now. Okay.
Well, your acne says, okay, thank you for your question. We will be moving on now. Thank you.
Yeah, what were we?
Yes, that was my younger sister saying older sister is always taking her stuff.
Oh,
which I don't take her stuff. No, that's not me.
We've had two sides of the story now.
No, you see, don't believe everything you hear. Misinformation.
Okay, going back to our sort of bad experiences with teachers.
Oh gosh. So once, right, I was holding some prawn cocktail crisps. And I came into the classroom, and there was a teacher. I just went to get my bag or something. And he saw it and was like, oh, is that smoky bacon? I said, no, that is not smoky bacon. You know, smoky bacon is suitable for vegetarians. Yes, I know. I'm still not going to eat it. But thank you for your input.
Oh my God. It's just, I think.
How do you explain that even if you can eat smoky bacon, you're not going to eat it because bacon is not something that
you just don't want to. Like, it doesn't like he wouldn't have, assuming the teacher was a he, but like they wouldn't have said that to you if you weren't Muslim. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's why it.
Yeah, if I wasn't a Muslim, he definitely would not have said that.
Yeah.
Also, like, just that teacher just brought everything. The reason for just made my religion the reason for everything that I did. So,
yes.
like,
oh my God, that's really annoying.
Yeah, we had a Year 9 fashion show, and because I'm
told me about this. Yeah.
I'm a bit nervous on stage, so I was like, yeah, I would not like to model, please. He turned around, he was like, oh, you know, there's Muslim fashion models too, and I was like, yeah, I know, good for them.
Yeah.
That's not me. I'm not the Muslim fashion model. Please don't make everything about my religion. Like,
I've literally had similar experiences where I will be in a lesson, and every time they bring up a country that is South Asian or like majority Muslim, everybody looks at me and then they act like I know everything. Like, I don't know everything about Saudi Arabia, guys. Like, I literally don't. Like, I've never been to Dubai. I don't know a lot about Dubai, so please stop looking at me when
you're Saudi Arabia.
No. yes, because of the similarity in my name, I know everything about it.
You are Muslim. You should know everything about the Middle
about
East
every
and
Muslim country.
countries.
Of course, and they always turn around and look at me, and then my teacher will go to the extent and she'll be like, "Isn't that right, Sauda?" I don't know.
Like, how are you supposed to know? You're not an expert, and like they wouldn't do that to anyone else. And
literally, yeah.
It's not just Muslims. That teacher did it. So we were talking about Nigeria. He turned to the black girl in our class and he was like, "So, what tribe are you from?" Yeah, it's
so awful. Like, the microaggressions and ignorance is just really baffling.
Yeah. You know, I think it was in one of my reports when I was in year 7, but the teacher kind of implied that I didn't belong at the school.
No, what?
So she was like, so girls at this school usually do this. Sophia is not
that
doing
is the
that.
most othering thing I've ever heard. That's awful. I'm sorry.
But then, you know, best thing ever, I proved her wrong, and afterwards,
as you should.
Yeah, you could. I think my dad was at that parents' evening, and he could see that I had corrected her. Basically, I did belong at this school.
Yes,
I was able
proud of
to
you.
do this.
That's
stuff.
amazing.
We have another question come in. Have you faced any racial discrimination at school? So yeah, we've just been talking about this. So it's not enough to be able to report it. Like, it's not something that's so big that you can say this is racist.
Slight ignorance, as I'd say, just like small little comments.
Yeah, exactly. That's what microaggressions are, aren't they? They're things that make you feel like you're an outcast.
You're like, am I overreacting? Like, is this something to be upset about?
You always feel like you're overreacting. You're too sensitive. No one else is experiencing this. But then you talk to other people and realize that other people are having exactly the same experience as you. And then once you've so we actually did this in our school. We made a list of what this one teacher said to all of us, and it was a very long list. And we realized that it was enough if it's enough to make you feel like you are separate and you're discriminated against, then
tell someone.
That's
tell
enough.
Someone,
tell
100%.
someone.
Well, at least tell your friends so that they can validate you and you don't feel like you're gaslighting yourself into thinking someone's being like saying something that's quite racially motivated. But also I feel like I've had some positives personally. People are really lovely about my culture. They are so nice. I have fed them. I've got them jalebi and mishti, and I've like
love the mishti.
Like at lunch I'd like bring my curry and I like go around with a spoon like, hey, do you want some? And they're like really lovely about it. So I think there's people who are lovely and amazing and accepting, but at the same time there are definitely people who are like super like ignorant, and it's like so clear that they don't know anything, but they still comment on it. Like, it's not like I don't know anything, so I'm gonna politely ask you. It's more like, well, I'm just gonna comment anyway because I think I know what you're all about, and I think I know about your identity.
Just
and stuff.
To them lecturing you about something that you already know, just the explaining that you really don't need. But I find it really empowering to, back on the negative side, to stand up to discrimination and to see a real change. Like, I think I was in a geography lesson once, and we were talking about earthquakes in Muslim countries or something. And did I tell you? Woman,
I've had the same experience.
She said the Muslim women will die in the earthquake because they cannot go outside without a man.
I had the same.
The Muslim women dying in earthquakes because they're not allowed to go out without a man. No, if you're running for your life, I mean, I'm pretty sure you can leave an earthquake without a man.
Literally. You know, I like before I told you, like, I had teachers ask me, "Isn't that right?" That teacher said that thing and then looked at me and said, "Isn't that right?" I don't know. No. Also, like, but it's so awkward if like the entire class is looking at you. I'm not gonna start like having a debate with her. So I just had to like put my head down.
My class, okay. So I think at that time I was a bit older, so I was like, yeah, no, I am not having this. My class was also not having it, and they were like, that doesn't sound accurate.
You're all cringing.
And I put my hand up. I was like, I don't think that's right. And she just shut me down. She was like, no, listen, I'm speaking. Don't interrupt.
No.
And then afterwards, yeah, I mean, I think I can't remember how it went, but I was quite upset about it after a lesson. And luckily, some student came to me and she was like, "Are you okay?" And you know, that was enough to get the tears rolling. Okay. No. Yes. Then she gave me a hug and she said, like, what I can do, we can go to the teacher, mention it. She suggested that I write down what she said. And then I did that. I went to the teacher. I said what this teacher had said to me. And then I managed to get an apology out of that teacher. And she was very apologetic about it. And I felt great at having changed something, you know, made some sort of change in a positive direction, right? So I think, standing up to discrimination is very important.
And it's really nice when people help you out with that as well. Like, like that girl that helped you out. It's just like those people get you through the days when you're having like a lot of doubt. Yeah. Like, should I say anything?
And especially because they're of a different race and religion. It feels like, I mean, obviously it doesn't mean more that they're saying it, but people can be more likely to listen because people might look at you of that race and religion and think, oh, you're being sensitive and this. But then if someone else says it, then that's when it's taken more seriously. Feels like.
I think I really like what our school did in terms of having like diversity and an inclusion person. To sort of, and I feel like not all schools. I feel like most schools should have that, or at least have more of a focus on including different races and religions in their assemblies and in classroom conversations, so that people don't feel, because I feel like even as a Muslim, although it is fun to explain to other people about your religion, I'm not a representative of Islam. I'm not like, I don't know everything, you know, like, and so I feel like having a designated person there is really, really helpful. It's really like, because they sort of support you and they take pressure off you, because I feel like there's such a pressure when you're the only Muslim to constantly have to explain yourself, to constantly be like, well, fasting is okay and I'm okay with fasting and hijabs are okay, and Muslim, like constantly having to defend yourself. And it stops being tiring if someone is there and it's more integrated, like going back to what you were saying about it being systemic, sort of like having someone, putting someone in the system to break down those barriers is always helpful. And I feel like hopefully in the future people like us can campaign and bring it up more so that institutions can realize that diversity and inclusion officers and people are needed and super necessary.
I think it is really helpful. I'm so glad that our school has that. I think our religion, philosophy and ethics department in our school is really good as well. I guess in some aspects they do lack in putting Islam in the curriculum. Like I think it was just 2 or 3 weeks that kids learn about Islam, and somehow it wasn't enough. And one student asked one of my friends, who I think would be a year above you by now, she asked, so is Islam a monotheistic religion? How many gods do you have? And I think that's like the basic thing of Islam.
Foundation. Yeah.
We have one God. Like if you take one thing from those lessons about Islam, it should be that. But I think apart from that, what our PE department teaches people is that jihad doesn't mean holy war, because that's a misconception that a lot of people have. I think that's helpful. Yeah 100%. And I mean, despite that, I've seen that in another department, I think it was geography department again, written on the board was jihad brackets holy war, and I feel like that contradiction is really annoying sometimes, especially when the RP department puts so much effort into breaking down those misconceptions. So we have another question. How did you guys manage exams while fasting?
Oh my god.
What
What
exams
a
did you have?
great question. I have my A levels soon. It's been
Yeah, you've been revising
tough,
during
but
Ramadan, haven't
I'm
you?
have you? I mean,
Yeah.
you have end of years, don't you?
Yeah, I have end of years that go on my UCAS application.
That's fun.
Yeah. No, I had Ramadan during my GCSEs as well.
Oh my god.
Yeah, and it was in the top floor of a really tall building. So
Yeah.
I was thirsty after going up the stairs.
Those stairs are literally
Oh
backbreaking.
gosh. But yeah, apart from that, I feel like I didn't have as much issue because there were only 3 exams in a day, and while you're doing an exam, you're not really thinking about eating or drinking.
Interesting. Personally, I've been finding it super difficult. Especially because first of all, it's like my first time doing exams and stuff. So like the first week I was mostly just figuring out when to revise. So like wake up from suhoor and I'm tired. And so then it's hard
And
to
then
revise.
when you wake
And then
up,
I'll revise after iftar. Eat iftar. I'm so
so
full.
tired
I'm
and
so
full.
full. Like I'm
exactly the
praying and I'm
same.
off to bed. Like
Yeah.
I'm gone. You know what I mean? And so like the first week for me was like difficult in terms of figuring out when on earth do I revise?
When am I gonna? And also, like, even for me, I sat down to revise, and I'd be reading the words, and they're just not going in my brain.
Yeah.
I don't understand what I'm reading, and I just, even if I have a set time to revise and I have the motivation to revise, I'm just too tired sometimes.
I think tips. Do I have tips? Definitely take it easy in the sense that do not do like a 5-hour revision session. In my opinion, that's just not sustainable. Take frequent breaks. Maybe Pomodoro, do things like that. But yeah, I think something my mum said to me that was kind of helpful. She said that revisioning Ramadan is amazing because there's more barakah in it. And I mean, that sort of made me feel good. I was like, yeah,
that is
I'm
amazing. The hardship you're going through and the reward you'll probably get, inshallah, from
exactly.
doing revision.
I think that was motivational for me personally. So if anyone else is listening and feels motivated, your revision has barakah in it, and inshallah, like it will come to great things.
Hope you will do well in your exams.
Yeah, take it slow, take it easy. Inshallah, you can do it.
Okay, so one last question we have. What advice would you give to people who feel they don't even fit into a Muslim majority school? I think that's a completely relevant point of view because it's not just your religion that's a part of who you are. There's, personalities, you might not click with other people. And in some schools, it can be really difficult to not give in to peer pressure. And if they're not nice people, then what can you do?
I feel like I maybe sort of felt like this definitely in year 7, year 8, because I also went to Muslim majority secondary, and God, it's hard. I think the basic things, going to clubs, turning up to lessons, and like doing things like extracurriculars can help. Sort of taking the time to get to know people. I think that's a really difficult position to be in, because I feel like at that point it's not Islam that's sort of preventing you from feeling like you're fitting in, and it's sort of like your own personal journey and sort of how you click with other people, and sometimes that just doesn't work. So things like clubs, that is such a basic answer, I'm sorry, but like that's like the most like solid thing that I can recommend. After that,
I mean, the clubs is so that you're speaking to as many people as possible, right? Like obviously I didn't go to a Muslim majority school, but my closest friends are in the clubs that I've been to because we share similar interests. And
if start a club in something you're interested.
You could even start a club. Yeah, I think it's quite difficult because sometimes you're not.
Also, I'd say like people in your classes trying to bond over schoolwork is always a fun thing. Other things, try talking to people you don't usually talk to. You'd be surprised at how, if you just take a first step and take that leap forward, sometimes you can. And I think it's definitely super like shattering if you try and make friends with someone and then they just don't reciprocate, and in that case that sucks. I'm sorry, but my advice would be you will find your people. Inshallah, like, you don't take it
personally, but that is always a good thing to do, to take the first step to talk to people. Like my sister, she struggled quite a bit because she went with friends from her primary school into secondary school and she stayed friends with them, but then they changed as people in a different way to how
Yeah.
Like who
That's
she
just
wanted
part
to
of
be
growing
friends with.
up. Like,
Yeah. But then she found that they were not nice people to be around anymore, and she had to make new friends. And luckily, alhamdulillah for her, it worked out. She managed to find people who were nice to her, and yeah, she managed to make friends.
Yeah, I think
like
if
that.
you're in that position, first of all, inshallah, having the sabr that you will find your people, because I definitely believe you can and will. And then doing things that maybe could help you find those people, such as clubs, such as interacting with people in your lessons. And also, like, if you're young, people change as they grow up and they mature. And I've personally found that some people I didn't get along with in year 7 and 8, I got to year 10 and 11,
Definitely,
I was
yeah.
really close with
Exactly
because
the
we started
same.
like vibing. And
Yeah, and yeah, people change. Like they in year 7 and 8, people are so immature. The way they treat you is
I
just,
struggled with that a lot.
yeah.
Like,
And then they grow up and suddenly they're completely different people.
I think,
and
yeah, I
it's-
think cliques start to matter less. Obviously, it depends on what sort of school you go to. But as you grow up, cliques matter less. You find your own
Yeah.
people. But also, if you are struggling to fit in at school, maybe find friends outside of school. Whether that's at
more
volunteering,
clubs, even volunteering.
youth centers, online. I don't know, but be
Maybe.
careful with
Yeah,
that.
be careful online.
Be
You're a
careful with
stranger
that.
danger.
But like, definitely, like, sort of taking the step.
Yeah.
And inshallah, like, if you throw enough balls at a hoop, one of them will go through, you know?
Lovely message.
Yeah,
I think
I hope it goes well for whoever asked that question, because trust me, you will find your people, and it's going to
it will get better.
When I was in year like 9, not even year 9, year 7, year 8, I just thought I wouldn't get along with anyone. I didn't click with anyone, and I was just like sort of like floating around. And then you sort of like get to know people, and also you grow as a person through those experiences. So even if you don't get friends out of those experiences, you learn to be more adaptable and more open, and that's amazing to be as a person in general.
Yeah, I think, in my opinion, the worst thing you can do is change who you are as a person to try and get on with other people. Like, don't like they will be your friend. You don't need to be someone else to be their friend. Like that's what helped me. When I found confidence in myself, that's when I managed to make friends with people.
Yeah, and I feel like that sort of mindset leads to growth, which is also change, but it's a good sort of change. It's the sort of change where you become a better person at the end. But if it's the sort of change where you're forcing yourself, don't do it. It's not sustainable. It genuinely is not sustainable. You won't make real friends. You just feel like really horrible, like deep down inside.
Yeah.
And it's just way better to have, in my opinion, few friends that are like great than have a big group and go along with everyone, because you can't please everyone in life.
Instead of pleasing people, please Allah, right?
That's one thing you could do. And like, don't feel like guilty, and remember that Allah is merciful. Like,
remember he knows what you're going through.
If you make mistakes, it's okay.
Yeah, do tawbah, ask for forgiveness, and like remember that Allah is He's merciful. He knows what you're going through. Have patience.
Yeah, inshallah, if you are taking steps and you are trying your best, it will fall into place.
Yeah. I think I just want to quickly end with a hadith I found from Sahih Muslim. How wonderful is the case of a believer. There is good for him in everything, and this applies only to a believer. If prosperity attends him, he expresses gratitude to Allah, and that is good for him. And if adversity befalls him, he endures it patiently, and that is better for him. So what that basically means is that only a believer can get good deeds in everything they do. If something good happens and they're grateful to Allah, they're getting good deeds for that. And if something bad happens and they're patient and they make dua, then they get reward for that too. And I think that's amazing.
And I think, inshallah, I hope we learn that everyone throughout their different sort of trials and tribulations, through our patience and then through our own actions, we can get better. So inshallah, I wish you everyone the best.
Yes, thank you, Jazakallah khair, for tuning in to Ramadan Radio. I'm Sophia, and this is Saudi again. Assalamu alaikum.